This is the Kaitum 3, Hilleberg's most versatile tunnel tent. And this is the 3-person version. There's also a 2-person and a 4-person version available. When you look at the tent like this, it might seem it's difficult to understand where to begin. But with a little bit of practice, the Kaitum 3 is very easy to set up. There are 3 poles that go into corresponding pole sleeves. The middle pole is a bit longer and is marked with red. Start by assembling the pole sleeves, and once you have that done, you can go ahead and put the pole in the pole sleeve. Try to get it in halfway and then push the end, making sure that this pole holder is fully in place, and then push the pole right in. There's this tensioning cup here. This is where the pole goes, and then you hold this toggle and you just pull to put the extra tension on it. This should go very smoothly. If it's not going smoothly, it's very likely that the pole didn't go all the way to the ends here. And from here, continue with the second one. Now this looks like a fairly compact package. Next step would be to secure one end of the tent. If there's a lot of wind, this is something you would have done beforehand. Now what we'll want to do is lift up the whole thing to give it some air. So this isn't too bad actually. Just lifting it up here to give it a bit more room. The great thing about the Kaitum is that in nice weather conditions it can be set up using only 4 pegs. It is recommended that you stake out the tent fully. There's a pull tab here that you can use to secure the tent, to keep it in place. And then there's this guy line. Hilleberg tents have these tensioning straps that you can pull on to add additional tension to the tent. Initially, you want to keep this at the maximum length. As the tent gets wet during the night because of rain, the fabric will expand and you will need to retension it, and you can do that using this. These are the ventilation openings, and the tent uses a flexible wire in here to give this opening its shape. Don't be afraid to flex this. And especially when you're packing it, don't be afraid to fold it. Additionally, there's this guy line here. This is a very important one. When you set up the tent, it should be set up in the direction of the wind. So this will give the tent a lot of stability. This is also a very important guy line, and it's a tricky one. You might be tempted to set it up like this, but this won't give the tent the optimal stability. The best way to set it up is to aim the guy line at the opposite corner of the tent, which would make it around here. So then if there's wind from the side or from the front, this will help support the tent as well. The tricky bit is, this is where the entrance is. So when you want to get in and out of the tent, you need to step over it or go around it. And that's just something you might find annoying. So now let's have a look at the tent design and some of its features. The length is 430 centimeters and the width is almost 2 meters. The outer tent fabric goes all the way down to the ground and the vents are high up, which means this is a 4-season tent. It weighs 3.5 kilograms and it can provide shelter for 3 people and it will fit 2 people comfortably. It has 2 entrances and 2 vestibules, and the doors are on the opposite sides, which means one side can always be protected from the wind. The vestibule of the Kaitum is quite unique, and let's have a look why that is. This opens like a usual tunnel door tent. You can roll away this door like that. And here you have plenty of space for your gear and to get in and out of the tent. This is the additional ground sheet that also covers the vestibule. One great feature of the Kaitum is the ability to fully roll away the vestibule and to fully open up the tent. Just like on all season Hilleberg tents. The door is a 2-part construction. There's this mesh and behind that there's also some fabric that can be unzipped to create extra ventilation. Having a 2-way zipper is always very nice. You can just unzip the bottom if you want to grab something from the vestibule, and at the same time you could only just unzip the top. The inner tent is 185 centimeters wide at the center, but only 155 at the head and foot ends. The length is 220 centimeters and the doors are vertical, which is great for tall users. The height in the center of the tent goes up to 105 centimeters and 89 at the doors. It's technically a 3-person tent, but as we know, that's never comfortable for 3 people. As you can see here, if I put in my sleeping pad and an additional sleeping pad, both are large and wide, the inner tent starts to get pretty cramped. There still is plenty of space and this is very comfortable and roomy for 2 people. If you're not used to using tunnel tents, this might be a whole new experience. The tent offers you a lot of room at a fairly light weight, but that comes at a cost. To get in and out of the tent, you need to use the doors that are located at the head and foot end. If there are 2 people in the tent, that potentially means stepping on each other while getting in and out. This is a great all-round tent. It's not too big, so it can still be used on a backpacking trip as well as a car camping trip. At the same time, it's a very capable tent. It's made for all conditions and when set up correctly, it can handle high winds and snowstorms. I've used it in a mild snowstorm and I was confident that it would not break down.